So what's going on, guys? OGR here, back with another New York Giants video. We're going to debate the question, playoffs or no playoffs? I'll go into both thoughts. Obviously, I approve one part over the other. But before I get into it, spike that like. If you like what you're watching, please hit the subscription and notification bell. It really does help the channel out. That being said, I'll be live with Butcher Blocks and Patriots Talk live on his channel at 5 o'clock. I'll leave a description in the description box below, a link at least, and then I'll also leave a link in my community notes. Either way, let's get into the video. Oh, by the way, I also want to preface this by saying, before I get into the actual bulk of the video, playoffs or no playoffs, making the case for both sides, even though I prefer one side over another, I do want to mention this. I understand it all requires a Giants win and a Washington football team loss for the Giants to get to the playoffs. I know somebody's going to put that in the comment section, so I want to preface that. Either way, let's get into the bulk of the video. So we'll start off with not really the harder one. They're both easy. I want to preface this by saying I don't agree with this logic. Unfortunately, I understand it, even if I don't agree with it. So let's get into it. So here's why a subset of Giants fans don't want the Giants to make the playoffs. They view the Giants' problem very simply. Dave Gettleman is problem 1A, and Daniel Jones is problem 1B. And if you're able to get rid of 1A, you're going to have a higher likelihood of getting rid of 1B. And they don't like the way Dave Gettleman started off his tenure, and by losing to Dallas on Sunday, they believe, by what John Mara said in their own world, they believe that Dave Gettleman will be gone. Dave Gettleman will be fired. There'll be 3 straight losing seasons, and by firing Dave Gettleman, you have a higher likelihood of changing quarterback because they know the new GM isn't going to have a lot of changes to make, but he can't control who his quarterback it is. And they're hoping this new GM does not like Daniel Jones and gets rid of him because they view this is the way you need to improve the Giants. Because they view the way the Giants are building now is not the way you build. It's not the way PFF wants you to build. It's not the way mainstream NFL talk wants you to build. They believe this is wrong. That's why they don't want the Giants to win on Sunday. Because they believe in their own mind they're improving the Giants. That's quite simply why they're rooting for their own team to lose on Sunday. Now, obviously, I don't subscribe to this narrative. If you've listened to this channel long enough, you would know that. Now, let's get into the other narrative. I put things into context. I believe in 2018, a large part of why the Giants have lost over the last 8 or 9 years has been on ownership. And in 2018, they wanted Dave Gettleman to win. So Dave Gettleman made these moves trying to win. 2018, we tried to win. Like it or not, that's what happened. And I put it squarely on ownership. Now, a lot of these other Giants fans don't believe in that, but at this much is proven. 2019 was the first year of a rebuild. That's why they took Daniel Jones. 2020 was the second. In the second year of a rebuild, you're asking your team to improve. And you're hoping in that year there's lessons that are learned by that team and continuity built on that team to propel that team better in year 3 of a year rebuild, the prove-it year. Next year is a prove-it year for Daniel Jones and Dave Gettleman. Does his plan come to fruition? That's why I want the Giants to go to the playoffs. It would give a reason to keep Dave Gettleman, even though a lot of people don't agree with what Dave Gettleman's been doing. Daniel Jones would obviously be here, considering Dave Gettleman drafted Daniel Jones, and it seems relatively that Joe Judge is comfortable with Daniel Jones as his quarterback. And we would further build this team around Daniel and see where we go year 3. Also, a similar lesson, it's not the exact same lesson, that was learned by the 85 Giants. And I'm not telling you the 2020 New York Football Giants are going to have the same success that the 85 Giants did by that turned into the success of the 86 season. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying there's a lesson to be learned there. In 85, the Giants were humbled by the Chicago Bears in Soldier Field, where they lambasted us. Beat us down to a pulp. That game, if you listen to any Giants great on that 86 team, point to that game being the reason that drove them to be the championship squad they were in 86. And I'm hoping a similar lesson is learned here by the Giants if they have the opportunity to make the playoffs. And it is a big if. A lot of people say, well, OGR, you don't deserve to go to the playoffs. Nobody in the NFC East deserves to go to the playoffs. But you know what? We are. That's the conundrum we are put in. Somebody has to represent the NFC East in the playoffs. That's just fact. And yes, it could come from a 6-10 record, which, if I'm not mistaken, is the worst record a division winner would ever have, bar none. And yes, people would say, well, in a normal year, the Giants wouldn't even be there, OGR. What about 2020 is normal, sweetheart? It's not. It hasn't been a normal year. It won't be a normal year. All the way until 2021, which will start out not being a normal year. We hope somewhere later down the road in 2021 it becomes somewhat normal, but until that time, it's not going to be. So yeah, you may not like my thought process on this, but the fact of the matter is, I believe there's a lesson to be learned with. I see the light at the end of the tunnel. Not everything on this team is perfect. I'll admit that much, but guess what? I want this team to go to the playoffs if they can. But it all starts by taking care of business on Sunday night. Either way, guys, let me know what you think in the comment section below. It's been OGR, and I'll catch you on the next vid.